Check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? Going on, Coach Paul. How are you doing? Let me make sure I bring you to the frame.
Yeah, I'm
There we
lost
go.
here in the ether.
There
Yeah,
he
there we
is. There
go.
he is. I found my guy. How are we
Uh,
doing, Coach Paul?
oh, good. Oh, interesting day once again.
Day for sure in the markets. Welcome to At the Buzzer, everyone. Our market recap. If this is your first time here, the goal of this session is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity. Want to see how we can take advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay, been a top step performance coach since June of 2023, trading for the past 13 years and markets for the past six, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep for 2 years. I've been involved in the futures trading industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share my experiences, some knowledge, and hopefully help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for that, Coach. And if you can, in the chat, let us know how you did today. Were you up or you down? And let me know if you like our new intro song. We're going to be playing around with a couple of new intro songs, maybe to just switch things up a little bit. Do we like it or do we want to go back to the original? Guys, let me know. Uh, but let's get into these markets. Wild markets for sure. Not the song that I
That,
was singing in. No,
that's the one I want.
that
You were
we're not
reading my mind, B-Rad.
we're not going to play that one. We got Lutnick speaking right now. Thank you for that, Coach Hoop. Look to see if the markets are responding to it. See if we get any price action after. A lot going on today. A lot going on today. So let's get into Trader Hub. Was talking to Coach Paul in the green room. I gotta go take off my Coach J hat and become Uncle J after we get off of here. I'm gonna go spend some time with my niece. So we're gonna end right at 5 p.m. Eastern. So we'll try to get through these markets, talk about what we saw, and then prep for the rest of the day. But had some comments, Coach Paul, a couple about Dissent potentially meeting with China this week. President saying, we're going to have a huge deal being made, huge announcements. Today we had announcements of a decreasing some of the tariffs that we have with the UK. I think on auto and a couple other things included in that as well. But I think it's the first sign of a deal with a trade partner, hopefully to see some more. We had comments out of the president said, "You better buy stocks now." I think that's the first time I've ever heard a sitting president say something like that. Maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention, but it was a pretty interesting comment to say, "You better buy stocks." Right? First, it was okay to buy. Now, you better buy. We saw the markets respond to that. We also
Hey,
have. Go ahead, Coach.
I guess they listened.
It looks like they listened. It looks like they listened. We also have, headlines here. The U.S. is planning to slash China tariffs to as low as 50% from the 145% that we're at. And then we had planned news, right? We had jobless claims coming at 228,000. Forecast was 230. I think that was about it as far as headlines go. We did have a 30-year bond auction as well. Trump seeking a tax hike on the wealthy who earn more than $2.5 million. Coinbase earnings. It was a busy day.
Yeah,
A lot going on. A lot of headlines. Go ahead, Coach.
there a lot of headlines. I I'm just catching up to some of these I didn't hear.
It's a lot. Like you got to sit down and Saturday morning paper, try to catch up to everything. Shout out to Apple News. I don't know if anyone uses the Apple News. It's a pretty good one. All right. Anything else you got on the news, Coach, or do we want to get right into?
Well, let's get right into it because I
Awesome.
can't make my decisions based on news.
Do have some earnings coming out as well. We had Coinbase earnings. Total revenues came in at 2 billion. Estimate was 2.11 billion. Our earnings per share came in at 24 cents. Estimate was $2.09. But
Bye.
yep, that's a big miss. But who here has some exposure to crypto in our chat? Any hodlers in the chat? Let us know. All right, so let's pull up the quote board really quick. To the downside today, we got 35 different markets we can trade with top step accounts. To the downside today, we had copper down 1.37%, the Japanese yen down 1.65%, and gold, biggest percentage mover to the downside at 2.32%. To the upside, we had crude oil up 3.55%, trading above that $60 level. Heating oil up 3.83%, and micro Bitcoin futures, digital gold up 5.47%, trading at 101,945 right now, back above that 100,000. And let me check the spot Bitcoin price because I don't know where it is right now, but spot Bitcoin trading at 101,451 right now, back above that 100,000 for the first time since we crossed below it. That is significant. That is significant. So I have a 30-minute chart up here, coach, for the S&P. Change this to extended trading hour so we can see the full session. And what are we looking at here?
Well, we were looking at weakness until a tweet came out. Um, came off broke all night long. If we set up the opening from last night,
Right? That was last night's open. Wow.
yep,
What a move.
yep,
Yay.
yeah, there was both sides. There was a great opening range trade to the south side. There was plenty of opportunity, but that just melted up on low volume. Was um, I mean, it was a great move after yesterday's wild close, and um, look at that. It was a perfect urgency breakout trade to the upside. Um, but our friends in London, what the happened there?
So they stopped. That's where the
Yeah,
selling started. Uh, we did have, the selling kind of started in London. This is 7 a.m. Eastern time right here. But we did have those jobless claims numbers come out. And I think it was like a muted reaction initially. And then we saw the market start going. Here is, and I mean, this rally, we kind of breezed over this really quick, but this is what we talk about as far as urgency goes, right? In this case, it happened on the 30-minute. I think we had that question yesterday, Coach. When do you use the 30? When do you use the three? Maybe the call is if the three doesn't set up, then you zoom out and look at a 30, and the 30 presented the better trade once buying started coming in during that Asia session.
yeah, it just, well, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I'm not going to say it. Um, all
Buy
I
equity,
know
sell
is,
gold,
like, yeah, well, there was buying. Don't fade it.
right?
Um, or if you fade it, wait till it's away from a VWAP. But in all, um, it was on light volume. It just was nonstop. Actually, there was a nice rally in gold too. So let's go and see what happened on the opening on a 3 minute.
I do want to take a look at this jobless claims candle here. This
Mhm.
was the news print talked about this before. Sometimes we see some volume coming in here. This was a decent trade. It didn't look like the markets really cared about that number, but I don't know if there was a headline or whatever came out afterwards, or maybe the algos didn't digest it fast enough. Uh, but the first 3 minutes, we didn't really get much of a reaction. 6 point range, and I think in the Nasdaq that was like a 30 point range. And then all of a sudden, a couple minutes after, we see that volume start to come in and sell us off right through the open. Here's that opening range here, session open. But we already had some decent selling coming into it. And if we anchor a VWAP from that news green here, so we differentiate, and then another one from the New York session open, the flow this morning early was to color that.
Well, now that you have, keep it there.
All
I
right.
thought I was the only one who suffers from that.
The flow early was to the downside. Till comments of you better buy. Uh,
S- s- It
Right,
sounds
Coach.
like a cheap store. You better buy. But
Yeah,
um, there was a good opportunity to sell that early when we broke out and got it on a 3 minute. It was almost to the tick of 2 to 1. Um, and it looked now, relatively speaking, when we saw that we were 50 higher before that number in the S&P. What was it, three almost 275 higher, I think, in the Nasdaq. So that gap, most likely and probability, had a chance to be closed. So it went, and did it close? If we just looked at the day frame, I think it went right unchanged to the settlement. Um,
take a look. Topstep daily levels. We did tag pretty close to settlement. Pretty close to settlement,
yeah,
which I thought was really interesting. Where we also went, and this is why I look at volume. Sometimes you look at these volume anomalies. Said Asia started buying it last night, right? Here's this volume spike. We come right back to those prices. So whether you use volume profile, whatever it is, you just mark out levels where breakouts happen, however you want to define it. Um, yeah, right back to settlement and a pretty strong buying presence there.
yeah, and there was. Did we get a J trade?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Yes, I remember seeing that, and I didn't buy it because I had been short.
Okay.
Well,
Well, you
but
if you did you cover there?
I actually had hit the target of about 2 to 1,
You bought
and
it. You just bought it to get out.
yes, true.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Uh, who
But
in the
I'm weak. I could have bought the J trade,
just
and
hit the reverse button?
I hang my head in shame.
Well, here's what I was doing when this was happening. I was driving. I was on the road, so I missed this completely. I was listening to Top Step TV. Uh, I think I just had stopped to get coffee, and I heard someone in the chat tagged me, and they were just like, "Oh, we got a J trade happening." And before we really started going, uh, the one thing, I think the trader in the chat, if you're here, call it out because you're calling it out in the Topstep TV chat today, but they said, J trade happening on the S&P. And the one thing I saw when I looked at the chart really quick, coach, was that we didn't close above that high when the trader was
Yes.
taking it, right? This wasn't an instant just reversal. We had about 15 minutes. And shout out to Dakota. I know Dakota was taking the long in the NASDAQ. And it's funny, we have traders saying, oh, Dakota's going to the well too many times. This is where we talk about, and sometimes traders will say, how many trades do you take in a day? And if you watched how Dakota traded this morning, that was one trade idea and multiple execution of that trade idea, right? He got in long, and we'll just switch over to the Nasdaq really quick so we can look at both of them. It was the same exact trade. Dakota got in long about 5 or 6 times in this range. Took the trade. He says, "This is a general area where I think the market has the potential to turn around." Took the trade, took a scratch. Took the trade, took a small loss. Took the trade, took a scratch. Because what he's doing there, if you watch that, he's waiting for the timing, right? We know Dakota looks at a 5 minute chart and then a 100 tick chart, and he's looking for the timing. One of the things that we say with this trade, where we get this high volume exhaustion, we close above it gives you that confirmation. Um, but you might have to sacrifice trade location a little bit. I think in that case, Dakota really didn't want to sacrifice the trade location. So he's executing here, but he's taking small scratches. And then once that momentum gets in, then he takes it. I think, again, go back and watch it. It was a great example of coach, could you imagine taking the same trade 5 times? You get no results.
You,
Probably some frustration.
yeah, but I think it's a testament why he's consistent. He knows how to. how to lose. He
Right.
doesn't. So he knows his process, and in this an important lesson. That's his process. He's comfortable in doing, like you just said. He doesn't feel the frustration. He just does it. It's a big lesson that you don't have to. I couldn't trade like him. I need more structure. Um, but for all of you, you have to trade something that you can execute. It's not like if there was a magic formula, everyone would do it and th- it would be ruined. But the key point in that is you have to be able to have a trading plan that fits your personality. And what you described is perfect. He does that consistently. Um, and he'll take losses or scratches until he gets what catches the fish, and then he pulls it in.
Yeah.
So
And
it
then he
was
doesn't let
great to
go
watch.
either. Doesn't let
Yeah,
go, right? Once I got it, it's just like, okay, well now there's no reason to let go. A lot of times I think what could happen here is a trader might buy this, you take a scratch, you buy it, maybe you bought it up here at the high of this range and it came back and stopped you out for 40 points. So now you get frustrated and it's like, you know what, maybe it's not a good buy. Maybe I should short it right before. It's like that. You guys ever see that picture of the guy who's like digging a tunnel and there's diamonds at the end of the tunnel and then he turns around right before he gets to it, right? That's what this is. So shout out to the trader who took the long in the middle of the range and held it. Uh, but if this frustrates you a little bit, just wait for this. And now, is it always going to be this type of move? No, the president's not going to come out every day and say you better buy stocks. But if even if we didn't know that this was going to happen, sometimes you're good and then you get lucky. Right? And that's to me what this was, right? Did Dakota know that there was a 250-point move coming from that trade? He had some targets to the upside, but I could guarantee you, and I think he said it, he didn't think it was going to happen that fast, right? It was 30 minutes where that move happened. Um, but waiting for the reason I'm kind of harping on this is just waiting for that confirmation can keep you out of the frustration of taking a couple scratches here. Dakota's been doing this almost half his life, right? So he knows that I'm going to click that button again. Sometimes a newer trader might not click it again because of that frustration. So waiting for that added confirmation could keep you in a trade.
process over profit.
Yep, absolutely. Uh, all right. There was another reversal. All right. Mohammed asked what a J trade is. Mohammed, what we're looking at is volume exhaustion that usually happens. So basically, high volume, right? Something like this, usually at the high or the low of a move, right? This high volume is coming at the end of this downtrend. And the confirmation is a candle close. I'm looking at a 3-minute chart. It's going to be different for whatever time frame you use. Confirmation is the candle close above the high of that high volume, this close right here, buying it and risk on the other side of that candle. There was another one here at 3:21 Central Time. We had high volume, happened near the highs of the day, uh, closed below it. Could try to figure out how to sell this here, but what's to say that this doesn't just continue? And what's to say that this continues to the downside? Really nothing, but this closure here adds a percentage to the trade. If you're looking for confirmation, right? Wait 15 minutes, you get a pretty decent trade opportunity. Looking short, risk above the high, riding that trend, maybe looking for a 2 to 1. Uh, Anything else you have on the equities, coach?
That's it. One thing quickly on on the daily, we're marching towards the 200 moving average. We've stayed above the 50, and once again, the 20 looks like it's going to cross. So just going to get the 200-day moving average will be the key test, and it appears we're on a march to it.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. We are still in that April 2nd candle, pretty much right at 50% of it in the S&P. Better buy stocks. it's okay to buy was this one. You
It's
better
okay to
buy. We didn't get as strong of a reaction. I just curious to see what happens. Uh, Interesting times we're living in. Um,
well, you know
and I
what's
bought some stocks.
interesting on that comment with the trade deal with UK? We happen to have a surplus with UK, a trade surplus. So take what you will from that.
This this 50% of this April 2nd candle is 56.72, the high 57.80. In the Nasdaq, I believe we are above that candle, kind of, yeah, right above the highs, 20,036. It's funny, we came into the green room on Monday for fast markets and said the over under was going to be 20,000. Said that for Monday. I didn't think by Thursday we were still going to be trying to figure out what the Nasdaq does at 20,000, but here we are.
All right.
Is it broken, coach? Gold broken. Have they done it?
Nope.
Nope.
We'll
Don't
see
you know,
tomorrow.
I don't trust it.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. You tell me. I mean, it's still above. It's right at the 20-day moving average. How it's above the 50. Yeah, there was a dramatic down move. But it's not broken. If I put a trend line there, well, yeah, we could come back to the trend line, but it's still. I mean, is it the top? It's still the top is it's still in. Um, but is it broken? I need a little more than this.
Still
Um,
holding that 20 moving average on the daily. It's been doing this entire time. So is this time different?
could
I
be.
agree. I agree with you. Coach, you're a basketball player. We're both
Yep.
been around basketball for a long time. This is like when that dude that's on the court hits a jump shot, and you look at his form, and you're just like, I'm leaving him open next time. He's not hitting the next one. It's like you're gonna have to hit a couple for me to trust it. And I think sellers still have a little bit of work to do or really believe it. But they did a nice job, right? Brought this market down about 140 points.
But
EDL
we,
just said it that gold ATR is still what it's increasing.
yeah. Well, here, let's look at the opening last night because there was a good buy there too.
Let's look at the Russell. We got 12 minutes. Let's see how many markets we can get in.
Uh,
I
that
mean, that's it.
buyer was still there. There was a 2 to 1. Um,
Did take a
what am I?
gold and a long in gold last night.
But boy, someone knew something.
Really
But
wouldn't have did this.
bingo. Right. Oh, wow. There's that 50%. So with that, I mean, uh, um, that's a little more evidence that it could be, but it's not broken yet. Let's see what happens in the first half hour tonight. Uh, because it's sitting towards that low. The 20 moving average is right here. It could as easily go up as down. I'm favoring first half an hour, and I'll make my decision there.
There we go. Why did I frame out this candle here? Remember, not last night, but the night before, where everything. This was. I like to attach either headlines. You guys hear me say it all the time. The April 2nd Liberation Day candle, right? It's okay to buy candle. This candle here, this 30-minute candle was Basent is going to meet with China. So where the equities had that, we opened up right on Globex. We were mapping this out yesterday, and everything spiked in the equities. We saw gold sell. This is that range here. And the reason I kind of like to attach a personality to these candles is because then you start to think about who created this price action. Right? We've been saying that Asia's been coming in and buying gold. This here says percent is going to meet with China this weekend. So somebody had to sell this. Maybe they're selling to open a position, maybe they're selling to close it. When we come back to that, that was a reaction to something specific. So what does the market do with that information when we get back to these prices? See it right at 50%. They're selling it again. Um, a beautiful trend day down.
Well,
Really nice trade.
yeah,
Um,
Coach Hoop had a nice call in selling gold today.
Did he?
Yeah.
Nice call, Coach Hoop. Nice call. We're under the 200 moving average on the 30-minute.
Oh, oh, more
Little di-
information.
Little different there.
Well, and we have a cross of the 20 and the 50. So, yeah, I'm watching that first half an hour and maybe I'll wait for the text or the tweet to say sell gold.
Just looking at, man, I had a little bit more time on my charts today.
It's,
Came right back to
was-
50% of the opening range from last night. Play the game right in front of your face. In front of your face. All right. Scott Vaughn's having he's fighting with his autocorrect on his phone over there. I had to make sure you were all right, Scott. Don't let the AI take over.
yeah,
Um,
that is a struggle. Stop that.
how would I said? All right. Anything else you have on gold?
Yeah, very interesting opening tonight. Very, very, my eyes are peeled.
All right. Crude oil, biggest or top three percentage mover to the upside today. Here's the daily in crude. What are we looking at here?
Making a case. What's the high? Oh, that yellow line, the 20-day moving average,
Close to it.
which we're closing. We're actually while we were talking, we made new highs. Um, and we're sitting right at those. We need to really get above that tomorrow and settle above that, and we could have a nice little rally. But it's definitely has value down here in the longer term at the bottom of the longer term range. So I'm starting to feel friendly to crude, but I'm not that friendly yet. If we look at the half hour,
Shout out to the house account. We'll go to a shorter time frame when they
yeah,
still
the
look at the
1 minute.
trade that they took. Man, what a trade! What a trade! Simplest trade in trading. This one is pretty simple too, though. Remember the other day we were talking about urgency? Hopefully, you guys are catching some of these. We Coach Paul and I talk about it. We're just like, we see these, and there's hard to trade all of them, but every once
It,
in a while. Go ahead, Coach.
it's right. It's hard to catch all of them, but you can't catch them if you're not looking for them. Where did they get out of that 1 minute trade?
I don't know. So I was kind of in and out watching the show all day. Does anyone know where the house account got out of that crude oil long? Because I don't know that the 1 minute opening range was ever invalidated.
No, I don't think it was. I'm almost positive it was. And that
Yeah. Let's take a look here. Because the one thing that I hear get questioned a lot with this trade is how do we manage it, right? Where do we and I did hear Hogan JD kind of talking about don't Lenny the trade. Is this the one time that we're just going to leave it? So if they left it, the auto liquidator took care of that trade. And sometimes you're going to get that. The one thing that if I would say we could add to this trade, Coach Paul,
mhm.
is is once we start going, right, and making some way, and you've said this to me a couple of times with this trade, right? What am I gonna say right now? When do we close it?
When you close it,
Yeah.
you get under the VWAP.
That's the only thing if they, and next time I'm on with JD, uh, once we get that 2 to 1, because then that's the question, right? Am I being greedy, or am I, trying to squeeze out profits from a market that's not giving it to me? I think a great way to manage this trade, right? We already talked about. I don't want to change anything. I wouldn't want to change anything for the entry of this trade. It's the simplest thing you could do. Buy it above the high, sell it below the low. and let it work. It's usually going to be a pretty affordable risk. But once you start to get that 2 to 1, uh, then managing it with a close below VWAP is you stayed in this trend the entire day. Uh, Coach Ray says it all the time, right? He channels with his, and if the market breaks out of his channel, then he's getting out of it. Um, but having a strategy for staying in a trending market, are we going to trend all the time? No, but when you get a good trade on, why not take it as full advantage of it if possible?
Um, yeah, that's well, whatever you do on that, it has to be consistent. I'm in the camp, on a 1 minute, maybe you go 3 to 1 because it's a smaller
Smaller range,
risk.
yeah.
But I'm still in the camp if my risk, I'm trying to get risk reward on a day trade 2 to 1 consistently. If I can do that consistently, I can be at 50% and have a great return. I could be at 40% and have a good return because it's 2 to 1. Now, that's me personally, but we talked about the principles of consistent winners. Predefine that risk, accept it or don't make the trade. That's like from the trading gods to us mere mortals. It's that important.
And yeah, pretty nice trade. Crude trading back above $60. We are still in that April 9th range, held above 50% of it. Target for me, you have that 20 moving average like Coach Paul just talked about, right at 60,000, uh, 60,000, 70. And above that, we have the high of that April 9th candle, 62.22. So those would be levels that I'm looking at in crude oil. All right. Any is the tool to measure out risk on Top Step X? Yeah, I mean, you could use
Yeah,
this long short thing here. You could use this.
oh,
I don't know
I
how to
didn't
use
even
this,
know that.
but it's there. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know how to use everything. The one thing I can't figure out with this tool is to how get it to show me the right dollar amount. But point wise, it'll tell you.
It's a
Use it
nice
from
tool.
trading
I'll
the
have to
trends.
check that out.
Yeah. Chauncey, I did not see Anne Marie's segment today. Coach Paul, did you see Anne Marie's segment on Top Step TV today?
No, I didn't.
I was not able to catch it, but I'll rewatch it. And how do I find that tool? It's in the forecasting and measurement tools, long short position. I'm going to say this one more time, guys. Explore your platforms. Explore your platforms. Get a lot more proficiency if you just click around and find. You might find something that I don't use, right? That helps you, but it's here in forecasting and measurement tools. But explore your platform. Just click around. It's okay. It's not going to cost you any money, right? Unless you accidentally click the buy or sell button. Uh, don't
What,
do that.
where's the button where I have an instant winner?
I don't know. Maybe it's this one up here, the red X where you just close down your you close down your platform. Instant win at life. You can go outside, enjoy your time off the charts. But yeah, just click around. It's it's there. All right. Any other markets you want to talk about, Coach Paul?
uh, well, let's look at Bitcoin.
Let's
We've
look at
been ignoring
Bitcoin.
this market, but
Quiet rally.
I think it was Monday we went through the half hour 200 bar moving average. They have not looked back, but the daily, I mean, that's got that's got a rocket ship written all over it. It looks. I think we put it back on.
Are we late to this? We did talk about it holding up pretty nice.
Yeah.
I didn't take the trade. So what good is it if you don't trade it? If talking about it is cool, making money on it is a little bit better. But
Well,
right, coach.
there's the yeah. Find them while you're finding moon. Look at that. You know, it was interesting when we get under the 200. Look what didn't cross the 20.
20. Yep.
Then the 20 has crossed the 50, and this is on light volume. Look at that volume. It's comparatively under average. So that is really
First
bullish.
day in a long time that we had volume above that average.
Yeah. So that's a light actually as we speak we're making new highs. Um oh, you are an artist. All right.
Highs on this futures contract in micro Bitcoin. It's 11, sorry, 112,635 higher in the futures contract. Who said it? Discipline Work says don't jinx it. The last time I did this was right around here.
Yeah.
So if this
That
little
was
rocket ship stops this movement, I'm sorry, but I think we have some room up.
is the bottom in? Um Relative question. I term it, is it to me, is it a probability that it's going to continue? And I say yes. The bottom end, we'll know it after it happened. Um, Sometimes when you think this is the bottom, it's all price based. Thank you. Boy, you're getting your artistry going. But I think in terms of probabilities, and yes, this it's got the DNA to go higher on a high probability basis.
I agree with you, Coach. Um, let's take a look on a shorter time frame. We talk a lot about markets and opening ranges and things like that, but we know Bitcoin is a 24/7 market. We can trade the futures the same way we trade all of the other futures. But when did this movement really get going? We apply the same technical process to each one of these markets. We look at it the same way. Uh,
Looks like crude oil.
it looks exactly like crude oil. Exactly like crude oil. Held view up the entire day and look at some of these volume spikes to see, if they hold, how volume responds to these ranges. This is just regardless of the market, this is a trending market. This is a perfect picture of a trending market. Um, our job is, I think, not to try to fight this. Look at where the pullbacks happen, right? We look at this major 100,000 level. Once we get above it, it's not a surprise to kind of see the market. All right, let me mark out 100,000 here. What time is it? We got 7 minutes. Mark out 100,000 here. It's not a surprise to see hesitation here at a whole number level. And again, we're trading the futures here, but and spot is going to do what it does. Not a surprise to see us hesitate first. Does that mean shorted and it's going back to zero? Maybe, but I think this is a general area. If I was looking at this market, and I wasn't, but looking at these major super psychological numbers where everyone who's trading Bitcoin is going to know that we're trading 100,000. If you're going to short it, maybe wait for that because that was the best short opportunity on the day, right? Yeah, we're doing this in hindsight, but in reality, that was the best short opportunity. Outside of that, everything else was a pullback to try to get into the trend long. So, if you're going to try to fight a directional market, wait for it to do it at a level that makes sense for other market participants to say, hey, you know what? Maybe it's a good idea to sell up here. Uh, and then the pullback to 100,000 is not surprising either, right? We haven't been above 100,000 in a long time. It's not a surprise to see a strong resistance then become a support. Same idea here. Yeah, this is strong. I don't want to fade this.
Well, we're making it's new high.
Look at it
Uh,
go. Look at it go. I might have to move the moon up. The moon was too close. Oh, gone. Where'd it go?
how does that happen?
I think it's at. Yeah, I deleted my drawings. I do that so quickly.
Uh,
Uh, all right.
you're kind
Go ahead, coach.
you're kind of like the old time artist. You're going to cut off your ear too. That
No, I need these.
that-
Interesting. Just looking to the
yeah,
left. Day was this? February 3rd. Isn't that when everything started selling off?
Yeah, it's it's
So I'll say, Coach, when identifying a J trade, can you review how to interpret and use volume and average volume line? Sure. Let's look at we got one right here. This is on a daily. This volume in this candle, the average right here, and you can do this on any time frame, but we're just doing it on the daily because this is a good example of it. The average on the daily is 65,000 contracts at this point in time. Uh, what we got on this day was 194,000. That's almost 3 times the average, and that's about what I'm gonna look for that exhaustion move, right? Sometimes you're gonna get 2 times the average and it continues in that direction, but when we start to get around that 3 or, 4 times, right? When it clearly sticks out, right? This is the most volume relative to anything else we have around it, and also we talked about that these oftentimes happen at the extremes of moves. Do we know that this is going to be the low? No, but on that first candle, that's the signature of it. What also usually happens there is if you attach a VWAP to it, it flattens out. Again, I don't have to try to figure out how to buy this low. I could if I wanted to, but is there anything that's saying that it's not going to stop there? But once we close above it, the trade just goes below. There's your trend, and we're now. I mean, we're doing this on a daily chart, but it's the same structure, Coach. This is a 20,000, $30,000
point.
point move in Bitcoin.
Um, there you go. It's whatever the time frame, the principle is still the same.
Right.
And um, that was and the key point to it makes this strong is it was the making lows of the move.
Yep.
So important. Think about it. It's just we used to refer to it as the puke. You know that final uh, it it stops, and then when that selling stops, it's got a good chance of going higher. It's and keyword chance. But it's got the structure of sellers have capitulated. They can't take their it's panic selling, whatever you want to call it. When that stops and we get over the high, think about it. It's almost
Yeah.
like, in sports, it's like some team is just scoring, and it's a big lead, and all of a sudden they stop scoring. You could just feel the momentum change, and they can't get it back. You see that in sports too. It's the same kind, or a horse that's leading 3/4 of the way on the race and gives up the lead. There's that's it. That the horse is most likely not going to recover.
And
It's not. It's
that's
over.
tough to do. That's tough to do.
Yeah,
Have a lead, lose it, and then regain the momentum to get it back. Yeah,
yeah. The other side almost has to give it up.
exactly.
It's not like you. So that is in principle what an exhaustion trade is.
I do have to get going.
Oh,
It's been fun. We are at time. We'll be back tomorrow, Friday. We'll wrap up the week. Coach, you got any words before we go?
watch that gold this on the opening tonight, and trade well.
Watch your
That's it.
gold. Trade well. We will talk to you all tomorrow. Remember, trade well, manage your risk. Tell somebody you love that you love them. We'll talk to you all tomorrow. Bye.